Anthony, thanks very much for joining us. As we can see, innovation is one of your big areas of focus, Anthony. Obviously, disruption is often, inspires innovation. What's your sense of where we are at the moment? And I suppose, how do you see innovation, technology moving forward, really?
I think you have to take a defiantly glass half full attitude to the current situation. Clearly, the current situation is just a nightmare. It's a nightmare for everyone. It's a nightmare for the whole world. But that aside, there's always something good that comes out of this. And I think the good that people have got to grab hold of is that this current situation is acting like a forcing function, bringing forward the future. The future that was coming is actually coming faster now. I mean, I genuinely think we are probably looking at 5 to 10 years progress from now to the next 18 months or so. So a huge number of the things that people like me in particular have been talking about for a long time are going to happen now because they have to happen now on two main fronts. The first front is that people are now conscious that the outside world can be unsafe, it can be dangerous, and it can be scary. People are genuinely nervous about going back into buildings. We're nervous about going onto the tubes or trains to get us to buildings, and then we're going to be nervous about going up in lifts. We're going to be nervous about sitting in the same space for hours on end. So there's a huge requirement for the real estate industry has got to sell to its consumers that it is safe space and that they care about our health and well-being. And in order to do that, they're going to have to prove a lot of things that they haven't had to prove in the past. So lots of things to do with environmental conditions are going to be huge over the next year. So in terms of technology, any technology relating to how a building operates at a macro and a granular level, what's the air quality, what's the temperature, what's the noise, what's the lighting, etc., 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 what's the cleaning routines. All of this stuff is going to become massively important because without the data that this technology is going to give us, you frankly cannot prove to your customer that you have a safe building. And as I say, if we can't prove that we have safe buildings, then people are not going to go into them. So that's one huge driver of technological adoption because it can't be avoided. We've all known this stuff for years, but you could avoid it because no one really asked. Now they are going to ask. The second huge driver is that, of course, all of us have been home for months on end, and everyone now knows that, funny enough, it's perfectly possible to get work done outside the office. Now, the whole thing about remote working or flexible working, there has been a massive managerial blocker towards flexibility in the sense of so many companies have been run on the basis that if I don't see you, you're not working. If you're not at your desk, you're not working. If you're not here at 9 o'clock in the morning and you're not here at 6 o'clock, then there's something wrong. That has now been completely blown up because companies have had to trust their employees to get on and do stuff. It means that suddenly the meaning of what we are going to an office to do changes because a lot of what we do, we now know we don't have to do in the office. So what is the point of the office? So I think there's going to be a much, much stronger focus on improving workplace design, optimization, monitoring, quantitative data, qualitative data. We are going to have to pay vastly more attention to creating great workplaces. Because if we don't create great workplaces, frankly, there's no point in anyone being there. So these two things, all stemming from this dreadful pandemic, are actually incredibly good for the consumer, because the consumer is going to end up with better workplaces, better environmental conditions. Great for the PropTech industry, because PropTech and other technologies are going to have to be adopted. And frankly, great for landlords and investors who buy into the program, who get with the program, because there is going to become such a differentiation between the office buildings that are operated with all of this in mind and buildings that don't do it. And we're moving, I think, to much more of a real estate market where not everyone goes up or down at the same time. My prognosis is that the next few years are going to be a fantastic time to make a load of money, to lose a load of money, but a very, very, very difficult time to just preserve money. So glass half full, embrace that, and don't waste a crisis, as Rob Emanuel said. There's things we can do now that we probably couldn't have done for 10 years, and we can now do them over the next 18 months or so.
Great. Always a pleasure to catch up, Anthony. Thanks very much.